All right, guys, you're a seller, you get an offer, and the question is, man, is this a good offer? Today and Lissette, are going to tell you.
You better get fired up.
Happy Monday, Lissette. How you doing?
Happy Monday, Joe. I'm great. How are you?
I'm amazing, man. Martin Luther King Day, big day.
Yeah.
And I know because my kids are bugging the crap out of me out there at home all day. Yeah, just an awesome question, especially with the market right now. We're seeing a lot more inventory hit the markets. We're starting to see offers, maybe we're not getting multiple offers that are 5, 10, 20 grand over anymore. Now you're starting to see some attempted negotiation. And so the question on the behalf of a lot of sellers is this a good offer? So talk to me a little bit about some of the things that you'll discuss with one of your sellers when they ask you if the offer you have in hand is good.
Okay, so sorry if you hear my dog barking in the background, but okay, so one of the things is I really like to hone in what is the seller looking for and what do they need? Because a lot of times price is just not the bottom line. It's not going to be the most appealing factor to them.
Yep.
So some of these issues could be, is there a timeline that they have to close by, or do they need an extended closing? Another factor would be, are they tight on cash and they just don't have the funds to make some of the repairs that are necessary? And one of the ones I really like to see is a very strong pre-approval proof of funds, specifically if the lender is picking up the phone and calling me and
Yep.
telling me their client's situation and how strong of a buyer is. So those are just some of the things right off the top that I look for.
Yeah, and I'll piggyback a little bit off of that lender comment. We're seeing I am seeing a lot of deals that have local lenders going smoothly. Deals with non-local lenders are falling apart at a very high rate. And this is my own little bubble. What I'm seeing is there are bigger companies, and I'm not going to mention names, but I'll say if they do a lot of marketing, it's probably who I'm talking about. And these bigger companies are not local, and their guys are incentivized. They get paid commissions based on how many pre-approval letters they can kick out the door. It doesn't matter if they're truly approved, if they'll truly get the loan. It doesn't matter if they close. They get commission based on how many of those they can do. So they pump them out as quickly as they can. Well, as a realtor who actually reads the letter, a lot of them say it's based on what that buyer told us. We didn't even look at the paperwork. We didn't look at their income. We didn't look at their credit. So it's called a pre-qualification letter, not a pre-approval letter, and that can get you in a lot of trouble. So one big thing I would say is if you've got a couple different options and one is a local lender, that's a big, big, big win for me. I also want to kind of say, when you are first listing your home with a realtor, I think it's really great if you go through the actual offer that you're going to see and go line by line and say, this is what this means. This is what this means. That way they know, A, expectation management on what they're probably going to see. And B, they can start to tell you what's a big deal, what's not a big deal, what they're hoping for, all those types of things. Really, when it comes down to, is it a good offer? It's got to align with your goals, right? I've told people before, I'll give you an example without getting into too much detail. I had a client back in 2007. This guy had to sell in 30 days. He had legal reasons. He had to sell in 30 days. So when we got that first offer, it was horrendous. And he said, what should we do, Joe? And I said, this is a horrendous offer. I think you should counter it. And he said, I can't afford to lose an offer. If this is a cash offer, it doesn't have any contingencies, and I know I'm going to get that cash, I'll take it. And I said, I think there's about an 80, 90% chance I can get a better offer in like 3 days. He said, I can't wait. That's the most extreme case I've ever had. But in that case, his motivation to get anything and get it closed was higher than him getting a high price. Now, that's very rare. But what a lot of people don't understand is I'll give you another somewhat extreme case. If you're already under contract on another property and that property is your dream house, all right, and you've got to sell yours in order to get that one. But if you don't get that one, you lose your escrow deposit. And let's say it's a pretty sizable amount. Now you get an offer on your home and it's 10, 20 grand low. Is that a great offer? Price-wise, no. But in alignment with your motivation, if we've been on for 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 weeks, it's the only offer you've seen. It's the best offer you've seen. other than the money, it's a good offer. It might align with what it is you want to do, right? Now, if you've got 4 homes and you don't need the cash because you got a ton of cash in the bank, and you're like, hey, Joe, I got a guy right now doing this. Hey, Joe, I'm thinking about selling this home. What do you think it's worth? And I say, well, in a dream world, maybe you could get 800, but you're more likely going to get 7.25, 750. It makes sense for him to try to get $800,000. He doesn't care if it sells. It doesn't really impact him. If he gets it, great. If he doesn't, whatever. So in that case, if he gets an offer and he's listed for 800 and he gets an offer for 750, which is market value, he might not want to take it because he wants to do some more fishing and he's got no risk, no like negative to him, right? So I say all that to say again, the offer has to align with what you're trying to achieve. And that, in my opinion, is how you determine if it's good or not. Lissette, give us some other things that you think about when you're talking with a seller about whether or not they should be taking an offer.
So are the escrow funds strong? Is someone coming in with strong earnest money deposit and offering with this offer? Or are they just coming in with maybe $1,000 to put in escrow? Now that looks as a more weaker offer, is not such a strong, serious buyer. So that's another thing I keep in mind. And also contingencies. Are they asking for any assistance for closing costs? That to me sometimes could be a little bit of a red flag that maybe they don't have the funds to do this transaction. And there may be some issues with financing down the road. Now, hopefully not, but that's another thing I keep in mind.
Yeah, those are all great points. Another thing that I'll bring up is just how is the offer constructed, right? I get a lot of offers where incorrect boxes are checked. The math on page 1 doesn't crunch out, doesn't make any sense, or maybe it doesn't make sense with the financing that they said they're going to use. I had one the other day that said that they were going to put half down in a deposit, which sounds great, and at closing the other half was due, which means it's a cash deal. But then when I get down to the financing part, it says it's conventional financing. Well, that doesn't jive. That doesn't make sense. Or you'll see missing signatures, missing initials. You'll see verbiage put in that really doesn't make that much sense. You'll see missing addenda. Different things like that tell me that you might have a phenomenal buyer, but if they've got an agent who really is dropping a lot of balls in the offer process, how many other balls are going to be dropped along the way? And I'll tell you, it is highly, highly, highly correlated. When I see a beautiful offer, everything's written perfectly, no errors, everything's initialed, all the addenda are attached, the odds of that closing are way higher than when I'm looking at an offer that's filled with errors. And by filled, I mean 2-3 errors. You shouldn't have any errors, right? Like, we are making a lot of money. We are professionals. In my eyes, we're right up there money-wise with attorneys and doctors. And you need an attorney to do a phenomenal job. You need a doctor to do a phenomenal job. We are handling probably your biggest asset. We should be doing a phenomenal job. So when I see that, I always tell my sellers, listen, all this looks great, but the realtor might be a problem on this. So just realize we might have some challenges, and then I'll give them a couple examples. But yeah, that's the majority of what I'm looking at. The rest of it's terms. How does the closing date work with what it is you're trying to accomplish? Does it fit or not? And a lot of times that's a little bit easier to negotiate than price. Sometimes they're going to want your personal stuff, right? So a lot of times you'll get people asking for your couch or your TV or whatever it is you've got there that they want. And that can get a little bit touchy sometimes. But again, I would say try to get as much emotion out of it, right? Let's say they want your $1,000 TV, but they're offering you $800,000 on your $800,000 property. It's the equivalent of getting $799. Just sign the paperwork, right? Like, that's a phenomenal deal. It's a good deal. I don't care if that TV is high def and it's however many inches. Go get a new TV, right? But people will get caught up in this stuff sometimes because, hey, that's my TV. Don't touch. Just get the emotions out. Think about the numbers. Does it help me align with my goals? And if it does, it's a great deal. Lissette, do you have any other nuggets that you'd like to leave the audience with?
So just to piggyback off of the agent's role here, a lot of times I'll have an offer come in and it'll be just an email, maybe a text at the most, say, hey, I sent you an offer. And then I'll have an offer come in where the agent actually picked up the phone, gave me a call,
Yeah.
gave me a backstory of the buyer. So now we have more information on our side when I come to present this offer to the sellers. And that just makes a difference between a good agent and a bad agent. Maybe they don't have a world of experience, but if they have great communication and they're showing up and they're providing all the information, could be better than dealing with an agent that's been in the business for 20, 30 years and just sends an email, doesn't provide any additional documentation or information.
Yeah, same thing with the lender too, right? Anytime I get a call from a lender, it doesn't make you a better buyer, but it makes me feel like you've got a harder working lender who's going to pay attention to details. So it makes me like that lender more. And as a buyer, it increases your chances. So all those things are great signs to see, right? Guys, I appreciate you joining us. If you've got any questions or comments, put them in the comments below. If you've got any ideas for future videos you'd like to see Lissette and I touch on, feel free to leave those as well, and we certainly will. I appreciate you joining us, and have a fantastic week.